Welcome to the TomorrowZone Catalyst Podcast. I'm your host, Deb Reuben, and today we are talking about creativity, not as a buzzword, but as a real driver of business innovation and team success. And my guest today is Jeff Rogers, and Jeff knows a thing or two about making creativity work in the real world. He has such an awesome background. I just want to share a few points from his background, just so you can know like how cool he is. So he's a master storyteller and innovation expert. He's the National Speaker Association storytelling champion. Congratulations. So excited about that. He's a best-selling author, virtual speaker, Hall of Fame, TEDx speaker, and as a Second City theater alum, he's always bringing creativity and humor to his work. And he has innovation certifications from Harvard, Stanford, and MIT. So, a lot going on there, Jeff. But one thing I know from all of my encounters with Jeff is he always is sparking new insights, fresh ideas, and new perspectives. And I never leave without laughing. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you, Jeff. Welcome to the show.
We will try and keep the streak going. We will try and keep the laughter as well as the one or two good ideas, maybe something that people can use. So
oh my gosh, like just as we were getting started, you almost had a 5-pointer there. So in my world, I've been playing this game since I started working remotely back in 2007. And I have an informal point system. So like if you can make somebody laugh on your call, it's 1 point. If you can make them snort laugh, it's worth 3. If you can make them laugh so hard they spit out their drink, it's 5. And I was just taking a sip of coffee when he said something.
It was this close.
Yeah, I don't know how many points we're going to have by the end of this, but I'm keeping track. Let's just kind of get started a little bit with your backstory. So in a nutshell, how would you describe what it is that you do these days? And what are some of the highlights along the way that brought you to that work?
Wow. Gotcha. I describe what it is. I could tell you what it is. How would I describe it? Well, listen, I think that we are in the midst of a creativity depression. And I think what is happening right now is that with the influx of AI, we have been outsourcing our creativity and what we perceive as creativity. And so what I'm trying to do is rehumanize and democratize creativity. So everyone can tap into their own source of creativity, their own source of imagination, and by source, the spark, that magical thing, right? Because we all have it. And so many people go every day and think, I'm not one of the creative ones. I'm not one of those folks. They're wrong. They're 100% wrong. We were all children. We all know how to do this. We all have the muscle, and we can all build it back up and be creative with our work, with our play, with our families, with our relationships, with everything that we do. We can infuse it with creativity. I think we've been outsourcing it. So my mission, my passion is to make people rediscover their creativity.
I love that so much. A lot of the work that we do at TomorrowZone is in the world of finance. And I'm often encountering people who don't feel like they're creative or that they are limited in that capacity. But I think that's such an amazing reminder for all of us. You've got it in you.
I named my company Jeff Rogers Unlimited. First, because my name was Jeff Rogers. So I thought, okay, this makes sense.
that makes sense.
I love where this is going. This is a good start. Keep going. Keep talking.
Yeah.
But I literally named it Unlimited because I saw a company's name and it was, trying to think of the exact name, something Carbide Limited. And it just, to me, it was like such an offense to humanity, right? Because we are unlimited. And what makes us unlimited is our ability to imagine, our ability to get creative, and that sensibility that there is nothing that we can't overcome. There is nothing that can stay in our way. We are constantly pushing on the boundaries of what's what's around us, what's real, what the challenges that we're having. And because we're constantly doing that, we're unlimited in what we can achieve. And it's creativity that is the bridge that gets us there. And I will evangelize on that soapbox until I can't stand it anymore. But it truly is. It is the gift that keeps on giving. Look, how many times can you point to the clients that you work with on a regular basis in finance who are sitting there, and after a little bit of coaxing, all of a sudden they're coming up with ideas for how to solve their challenges. After a little bit of collaboration, they're building on these ideas, creating now entire structures of concepts that didn't exist just 15 minutes earlier. And the light, they could see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? And hopefully it's not an oncoming train, but they can see the light from where they are in the darkness of the shadow that they're in, of the challenge, of the obstacle, of the norm, right? The what we've been doing. This is what we always do. We can't do anything different. Once we shine some light on that of creativity, then they're unlimited.
So I actually want to dive into that because I do see that quite often where teams are kind of stuck in a rut and they get stuck in the we've always done it that way mentality. And it's sometimes really hard to shift people into possibility thinking and imagining a new possible future. I mean, sometimes it's because they don't have the ingredients. Maybe they're just not out seeing what's possible. But I think there are other things that are leading to that challenge. And so, what are some steps that you can take with teams to get them out of we can't because, or we tried that before, we've always done it this way, to kind of, leap over to, oh my gosh, what if? How do you go from what is to what if?
Oh, love that, from what is to what if. So a couple of thoughts here is that if you think about the word life is full of if, right? It's the center of the word. It's all about if, what if, as if. The if is, honestly, that's why we're here. We're here for the if, because otherwise we're just a tree. We're just doing the job that we're supposed to do. And then we're done doing it. And then we're over, right? And we're back into the ground. It's the if that is the spark that gives us the idea of what is possible, that like you said, that possibility engine. We love a groove. As humans, we love a groove, a pattern, a system. We love that. And systems are great. They're great for growth, right? Systems thinking and all of those things that enable us to grow. The problem is we get stuck in a system after we develop it, instead of jumping from, okay, we've created this system that does this job now, which is great because I used to have to do that job. Now we got a system that does that job. Now I need to get out of that system and into the new unknown. And I have to, create that new system there. But that's not what we do. That's not what we like. We stay in the system. We love the groove. And what happens is that turns it into a grave. And we don't want to come out of that. I always look at our comfort zone as the zombie zone.
The zombie zone.
That's the zombie zone.
Welcome to the Tomorrow Zone, where we're going to talk about the zombie zone.
That's exactly it, right? I mean, that's why I love the name of your company, TomorrowZone, is because it's about what's next, what if, what's possible. Whereas the comfort zone is about what can we just not have to think about? What can we just exist in without stretching ourselves in any way? And if we stay in the zombie zone, we'll never extend ourselves into that uncomfortable area, right? And in order for growth to happen, the first part, it happens in 3 parts. And it becomes unbearable for the first part. And that's about 10 days of doing something different or new. It's about 10 days. And I take that from the National Quitting Day is January 10th. And I'm not talking about quitting smoking. We all quit or the majority of people, 97% of people quit their New Year's resolutions on January 10th.
Oh, wow.
And that aligns with studies that have been done about how long we can stand doing something that we're not used to doing, that's not already installed as a habit. We can stand it about 10 days. And that's not even a full 10 days. It's 3 days really strong. And then the fourth day, and then fifth day, we're strong again. And 6, 7, I'm kind of like, I didn't know I was really this is a lot. But it's 10 days of unbearable, followed by 30 days of uncomfortable. And if we can get through those anywhere from 40 to 60 days, it's somewhere in that. I know everyone says it's 21 days to a habit. That's not true. There's science shows that it's actually a much longer period to really install something. If we get past unbearable and we get through uncomfortable, then we become unstoppable. And that's that area. That's the wilderness that lies just beyond the zombie zone. That's the wilderness we're bred for. That's why we're here. And then we make it to that new uncharted land where it's, all honey and everything good, gold and honey and all the sweet stuff. But the reality is we're not meant for that area either. We're not meant to stay there because you can easily develop that into a zombie zone. We're literally bred, I believe, based on everything that I've experienced with creativity, to live in that wilderness zone, to keep challenging ourselves and keep challenging our thinking, keep challenging our process, because we feel most alive, most heroic when we are in the midst of a challenge that is just slightly bigger than us. We don't feel like, right? That's the idea of flow. We don't feel like it's too overwhelming. Well, I can't come up with world peace. That's too big. But what I can do is develop a way for maybe two arguing factions to come to a third place where there's overlap and find agreement. So that's a corner of that idea of world peace. That's that wilderness. That's that. Let's explore that. It's big, but I think I can match it. I think I can grow to match that size. And if we keep on doing that and keep on applying ourselves in service of something bigger than ourselves, our growth is, again, it's unlimited, because we'll keep on creating new ideas that we'll try, and eventually we'll happen on that solution. We'll find it.
So you sparked my curiosity.
Which is step one of creativity.
Yeah. When you were talking about spending time in the challenge zone, and that's where you feel most alive. Can you tell me about a time when you were in that challenge zone, and what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think a majority of my career is in the challenge zone. I'll tell you the most recent one. I was working with a client, and we're creating the through line for their event, for their meeting. And so they had given us a lot of information about how they wanted it in this sort of, wanting to deal with AI. They want the conversation to be about AI, about how it would be used in this industry. And we presented a series of ideas, and I had gotten my information third hand. I didn't get it directly from the client, the main client. And the client is sitting there, arms crossed, nodding head. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I love all of that for next year. But that's too soon for this year. Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
And we're pitching. We're pitching this. So we don't have the business. This isn't a current, So in that moment, that is literally, you're helicoptered into the challenge zone, right? You're not building into it and
like a commando, boom.
100% in. And so the immediate first thing was, and I literally said, it's the first thing, curious. I became curious. Oh, where did we jump over? What did we jump over to get to next year? So what are we missing? What's this first part? Tell me about that. Let's dive in. And as they started describing it, it became an entirely different meeting. And the client actually said, I this is my fault. I didn't give you guys, it was easier for me to talk about next year because that one is super clear in my head. So I gave you all the information about next year's meeting. That's not what this year is about. I can't get a handle on what this year is. And as soon as that revelation was made, as soon as that was shared, it was like, great. Now I know what our job is for the rest of this meeting is to identify what that is. And by the end of that meeting, we 100% identified that what this year is about is the work, is who's doing the work, what they're experiencing with it, how they're doing it, what they're doing, what's working, what's not working, how all of their different potential clients and the people in their community are doing the things that they're doing in order to be successful. And then next year is about the future of that and how AI plays the role in that and everything else. It was revelatory because now we're in this space of actually working on the real problem instead of trying to pose what we think is comfortable and what we can talk about because we've got a better idea of that. It was cathartic for the client because they were finally able to start identifying what this year was about. And it was obviously helpful because they left their comfort zone, which is next year. They got that figured out, and we've got a great idea for it. But this year needed to be shaped and molded. And if you talk about Michelangelo's work on David, he chipped away all of the extra stuff to find David inside, right? David was already always there. The sculpture of David that Michelangelo did. The sculpture was always there, he said. He just chipped away everything extra. That's basically what we were doing in that moment. That's the idea of what we were doing, is chipping away all of the extra stuff. Now let's concentrate on what we have. How are we going to make that real? We always use David and Michelangelo as this example of the idea is there. You just have to chip away the stuff. Think about the moment that Michelangelo chose to capture in that sculpture. It's David on the verge of fighting Goliath. He's not actively swinging the sling and the stone. He is in the moment before the action is taken. It is the most fear. It is the most unknown. It is the most, for the religious, it's the most faith-filled moment because they have to believe and take a leap of faith. And I think that's that moment in the in that wilderness that we all have to have a little bit of a leap of faith in our own creativity. And hopefully you've engendered a team or a group or a squad or whatever you want to call it who are going to be there with you that you can bounce ideas off of. As you know, I'm very much against the idea of the lone genius coming up with the brilliant idea. Exactly. It's like, maybe once in a while, but it's just not that true. Every idea comes from somewhere. It's a collaboration of knowledge and experience coming together in a new way. And so it's what we've seen before. It's what we've studied before. And now how do I look at that a little bit differently? So you can't dismiss all of those people who came up with those other new ways of looking at things that led right to your door and say, oh, no, I've come up with everything brand new, original. Nobody's ever thought anything like this before. Doing it as a group that also is informed by my background in improvisation, which is all about supporting each other's intentions until you get to one that works, that gains traction. And then you use that one to go forward and explore it.
So actually I wanted to kind of go into that a little bit because I was listening to a podcast this morning, actually, and they were talking about innovation and technology and all of these forces of change that are coming at us from all different directions. And they used a phrase that stuck out for me, and I've been thinking about it ever since, that, with the pace of change, we're going into a golden age of uncertainty. And that's what people are facing personally, in business. It's coming from all sides. It's not just AI and technology and all of those things, but, there's a lot going on. And still, a lot of leaders want innovation, but struggle with risk aversion and dealing with uncertainty. And I wonder, like you did this with your client in your story, like getting them into that space to, okay, well, let's dive into this and let's explore this challenge. This was total uncertainty. I don't know what the answer is. Like, okay, well, now let's get comfortable questioning until we figure that out. But you mentioned teams. So what are some practical steps that leaders can take to help their teams deal with the uncertainty and get over the fear to get into that zone of possibility?
So if you're a leader and you either manage a team or you have multiple teams underneath you, your first job is to create a space of psychological safety. And I know that's a term that's thrown around a lot. I get it. You know what? It's unfortunate that it becomes a buzzword. But here's what you really want to do. Lower the stakes. You want to create a playground where people can try things and experiment, a garage, right? Where they can put things together and, get shocked and laugh about, oh my God, that really hurt. Now let's get back to it. Why did that do that? Why did that go that way? Oh, here, let's try this. It's not just about creating psychological safety. You're creating the playground to explore, the laboratory to experiment, the garage to putter, because that's where all of these things can be tried. All of these ideas can be tried out. All of these concepts can be tested to a certain degree and initiated. But before that, the team that you want to put together, if you're a leader, stop looking for exceptional players. X. Stop looking for exceptional players. Start looking for exceptional players. You want people who are able to accept the reality that they're in currently. That's what yes and is. Yes is radical acceptance of their current reality. And if you want to be successful, because the golden age of uncertainty, I absolutely love that phrase. It's going to change. Everything. That means every day, every month, every year is going to change and be different every moment to moment. And so you cannot keep up with it. It is impossible to try and keep up with every phase of change. And you will burn out. You will burn out your team. You will burn out everybody around you if you try to rev your engine to that constant level all the time. So instead of trying to do that, become a superhero with a super ability of accepting what is. Here's the new space that we're existing in. So it's not constantly changing. It's being able to change when it's important to do so. And you have the mechanism in place to accept, okay, now we're here, but the reality is the clients are looking for this, or that, our shipping process has to change. Our manufacturing process has to change. That we've got to figure out how to do this in a different way. We're not able to use this material anymore because it's too costly, or it comes from a place that we can't do business with anymore. How do we, change it? There's a global pandemic. How do we work around that? And if there has ever been a proof point, a laboratory of proof that showed we are incredible at change, it was the pandemic. Every company that wanted to survive changed. Radical acceptance. This is the reality that we're living in. All right, what can we do? How can we adapt to this? You can't be afraid of change. And the only way not to be afraid of change is to live in change, to radically accept that change is happening. And that's not the point of fear. And in fact, there is no point of fear when you're able to keep on being creative and applying new levels of creativity and innovation to what you're doing. We get stuck in this idea of fear, and it's the fear itself that becomes the blockage. And once we can just, it's an emotion that we can't necessarily control, but we can certainly find a place for it. and say, okay, I acknowledge I'm a little bit afraid of this, but I am also a creative being with a creative team. And we have industry knowledge that is incomparable to all of our competitors. Let's figure out what we are going to do about it. And every industry, every company is incomparable to another because they have different people. Your products might be similar, your approach to the market might be similar, but you have different people, and that means you're going to have different ideas. And when you start putting those things together, the fear lessens and slackens and disappears and dissipates. And our ability then to keep on creating a new system and moving on to the next wilderness enables us to scale and grow in that space. So very quickly, for those leaders who are looking to do this, create a safe space that people can experiment in, not just safe, but safe for experimentation and trying stuff out. Yes, and radically accept whatever the reality is, and then bridge to that next space, that third space, that next place you want to go that's going to bring you the growth and scale that you need, and keep on repeat and set that on repeat. Keep on doing it.
So it's getting into that habit of curiosity, using yes and. I wanted to ask you, this is actually something that is coming up quite a lot in the industry that I'm working in, leaders that I'm working with, is they know, so they got the message. They know they need to create this space for play, experimentation, exploration, and they don't know how to do it. Can you share, what are some examples of what does that look like for a leader to create that space to explore new ideas?
Oh, I love this question. Because everybody thinks once you have an idea, you have to invest everything in it. Like it millions of dollars, and we've got to throw people at it and everything. Downsize it. Bring it all down. Make it manageable. And I'm talking about, I hate to say it, stupid easy, right? Just so easy to take that next little step. We tend to want to build things right away, to go from ideation to manufacture, right? I mean, as almost a straight line. No, take those in-between moments. Make a small bet. Make a small wager, $100. Figure out, do pressure testing for $100. What could you do for $100 if you wanted to pressure test this? Take a survey, bring it over to a new group of people, have them play with it, take it apart, and put it back together again and see if they can do that. And then bring it back to the original group and go, look what they did. It should not be a race to the final position, the final product, the final whatever solution. It should be a race to a point where you just can't take it apart anymore. You've gotten this is so rock solid. We have to move it up to manufacturing because, or whatever it is, or to new process, new system, because it is just so bulletproof that it cannot be denied. When you do that, you've lowered the stakes on what this thing is and how perfect it has to be. Now you've gotten to iteration 1.0. And realizing that it is not going to stay in one place. It is going to keep on evolving as well. So 1.0 is that minimal viable product, right? The MVP. But you don't stay at MVP level. Mm-hmm. You're going to keep growing that. So take those baby steps. Just keep messing with it on that level until it becomes, I can't think of another thing we can do to make this better without spending a ton of money.
Yeah, I love that. Because, in the world that I work in, and maybe you see this with your clients too, there's often a rush to solution.
Oh, yeah.
Before thoroughly understanding the problem space. And I saw that pattern in the client story that you shared earlier, where your client was able to say, I can see what next year needs to be solution, but it's the in-between space. The messy middle is always the toughest thing. But as I was listening to you talk, Jeff, it sounded like one of the little tiny habits that people need to develop is asking the question, how might we test this idea? And that's how you kind of get into that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's such a critical element. And the other thing, byproduct of doing that, it takes you out of the fear zone. because you're constantly changing it and playing with it. And I keep on doing this as if it's a little,
what are you doing? A Rubik's Cube there?
yeah, right. Like you keep on twisting and seeing what it can do and pull it apart and do all of these things. But
did you ever do that? Like pull apart the Rubik's Cube to solve it?
Yes.
I did too.
I mean, and radios and TVs and, my dad would come home and find the remote control in pieces. And what are you doing? Well, I want to see if I can make this work with the light too. I want to see. No, you can't. Stop it. But
so there's a place for experimentation, and that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also where you gain so much fundamental knowledge of it as well. If you kick that step to the side, you're losing the opportunity to understand it better than your competition. You're missing the opportunity to fundamentally understand what makes this work, what makes it profitable, what makes it sustainable, what makes it successful. And when you know that, you also are finding out if it will be sustainable, if it will be successful, if it is profitable. And that's what I keep coming back to, is that if. Because if we can, that's what we're looking to solve with any of these things, is the if of the problem. And some ideas, be okay with that idea that doesn't work, because that's informed the next one. Don't keep a tally of here's what worked, here's what didn't work. Because if you do, there should be a ton on the side of did not work and only one or two on the side that did work. But those one or two, those are rocket ships.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the ones.
Oh man. Okay. This is a very recent example. So we're working with a team on, taking ideas to action, and the process of, you've been through design thinking, you have to, you diverge and you create all these ideas and explore and all that. But there comes a time where you have to converge and you need to narrow things down and you need to find your focus. Like, where is the area that you should place your bets? And that's a really anxiety-filled process. And I wonder, because you're so creative, how do you deal with leaving some of those darlings, some of those, ideas that you are so excited about, and leaving them behind as you start moving through that process to bring something of value to reality?
Again, I would reframe that a little bit. In my mind, what you're doing is you're creating a bank of potential ideas that you can go back to. And this bank of ideas is wealth. Anything you keep in a bank is of value. So you're not losing the inherent value of that idea because you've decided, the group has decided democratically to, we think this has got the most potential. Well, you try it out and it doesn't. Well, guess what? You're not out of luck. It isn't a bet. You're not playing. You're not in Vegas. You literally get to go back to or if you are in Vegas, you get to go back to the cash machine because there's more money in the account. I've done that. So you get to go back to that bank of ideas and go, okay, well, let's take this one off the shelf now. Well, let's play with this one. Let's see what this one does. I guarantee you, the way that we create concepts and ideas is that we build on the ones that we have. We build on what we know. And so just by creating that and even not using it, it's informing our other ideas. And the more that we can keep on doing that, the broader our brain becomes. Also, I would say, if you're looking to create things, you can ask questions. How would Uber do this? How would NASA do this? How would any other company do this? What would they provide a delivery? Would they try and, land somewhere? So you can bring in all of these other overlays, right, that go on top of what you're doing and see if that changes the frame a little bit and see if that will allow it. So it's in this process that you discover the treasure that you've already created, right? You're able to cash in on the wealth that's sitting right there. You don't have to go out. You don't have to bring somebody else in. You have the institutional knowledge, the industry knowledge. Unleash it.
Well, and that, goes right back to the beginning, building that confidence that you can solve problems, that you can deal with uncertainty and overcoming fear. It sounds like the magic key is cranking up your curiosity.
Absolutely a huge part of it. It's a huge part of it. And I think the thing that goes along with that is cranking up your play.
Ooh, I like that.
When we play, we immediately are in explorer mode. We want to explore. We want to see what we can do. We want to, we don't consider the failure of, I mean, think about any scenario where play is happening, whether it's a game or just kids on a playground, whatever it is. Nobody is fired from play because they didn't do the exact right thing. Right? It's, don't do that again.
Well, unless you had that one kid.
Yeah, true. Right. But it enables us to immediately learn on the go, and it informs everything else we do. If you're going across the monkey bars, right, and you're trying to swing and you can't make that one because you're not doing it, what are you going to do if you really want to complete that route? You're going to figure out, what do I need to do? I need to swing more. I need to create more. You're learning momentum. You're learning leverage. You're learning geometry. You don't have names for all of these things, but you're learning all of those things. And you're able to use that then in order to reach that next bar and to swing, because that's what play is. And when we do that for curiosity and play, but have a goal to get to at the other end, boy, I would bet on that team every single time. In fact, a quick story. This is one of the few times in sports where I could spot the winner before the game ended. 2004, the Cubs, Chicago Cubs, are playing the Marlins in the NLDS or NLCS, and the Cubs are ahead on the scoreboard, and it looks like they're going to win. And the Marlins, the pitcher is on the mound, and he throws the ball, and it sails way over the catcher's head, and it hits the backstop. And they show a camera shot of the dugout, the Marlins dugout, and everybody is laughing. Like their eyes are alight. They're like, oh my God, did you just see what he did? What wasn't happening is fear and doubt and blame and guilt. Instead, everybody's laughing. In fact, the pitcher puts his mitt up over his mouth, but his eyes have this huge smile in his eyes. At that moment, I knew the Cubs were going to win. Or going to lose. I'm sorry. The Cubs were going to lose in that moment because the other team was so loose. They were playing. They were going to find a way to play in order to get to that successful outcome. And the Cubs were tight and they had to win. And it was the pressure of the legacy and the history of the team, and they had to win. Like it's almost impossible to come up with a great idea in that scenario. Allow yourself to be curious, allow yourself to play, create the space to play, and then and everything that comes up. You'll get to the judgy part where you have to pick the one idea that that everybody can vote on and say, I think that this is the one that's going to go. You'll get there, but you don't have to start there. And if you want to get to a good place and some great outcomes and some incredibly innovative ideas, you don't want to start there.
There's a final question I want to ask you before we wrap up. What is one thing that leaders can do today to shape a more awesome future?
Well, I've been really big lately about this idea of leaders creating this coaching mindset. I think even the word leader in our mind means person who is at the front, person who is being followed. And I think that that's a misnomer. I think a great leader is a great coach. And so they have the vision, the strategy, right, of how we're going to get to where we want to go. But they're not sitting there saying, do this, do that. They're coaching up the entire team to think in a way that will enable them to achieve that goal, to believe in a way that will enable them to achieve that goal. You have all of these Gallup polls and everything where everybody is getting burned out and they are disengaged at work. Such a huge number. It's well over 50%. Half your workforce doesn't want to be there. That should be your mission at the moment. Not for the stockholders, not for the product price, not profitability. Concentrate on your team. Coach your team up so that they have a belief and a passion that they can bring every day to their work. And if you do that, everything else will take care of itself. And when I'm talking to lead, that's how you become unstoppable. That's how you truly go from unbearable to uncomfortable to unstoppable, is by sharing the belief and coaching people to believe in what the mission is, where we're headed. And if you can do that, yeah, watch out for that team.
That is powerful, Jeff. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and joining me on the show.
I didn't get a snort laugh, so I'm a little bummed. I will be back. I'm just warning everybody. I'm going to interrupt another podcast and just come in to bomb you and make you snort.
That would be really fun.
Jeff, what are you doing here?
Oh, look, it's Jeff. Wow. Just dropping in. Oh, awesome. It's been so fun talking with you, Jeff. To our listeners, if you found this conversation valuable, be sure to subscribe, share this episode with a team member who might need to be encouraged. Until next time, I want you to stay curious and play a bit. Choose to make awesome happen.